Hello, sixth graders. We are in our shapes and measurement unit. This is unit 8. Our lesson today is on perimeter and area. And our learning target, I can find the perimeter and area of rectangles and squares. So we have a vocab word here, perimeter. When we are talking about perimeter of any shape, this is the distance around the outside of a two-dimensional shape. Okay, two-dimensional 2D shape. So the distance around the outside is perimeter. So when we're finding perimeter of a rectangle, it's twice the sum of the length and width. So basically we're taking all of the sides and we're adding them together. So a couple different formulas. You could do length plus length plus width plus width. You could take 2 times the length because there's 2 lengths. And you could take 2 times the width because there's 2 widths and multiply and then add those together. Or you could add the length and width and then multiply it by 2. So I have those formulas written down in your notebook. We're going to go through an example here. Finding the perimeter, I like to just add all of the sides up. So 15 plus 15, length, plus the width, plus 4 plus 4. Well, 15 and 15 is 30. 4 plus 4 is 8. So our perimeter would be 38. Now, whenever we're talking label, in this case, we're centimeters. So 30, oops, this is supposed to be an 8. 38 centimeters. Okay, another example here to try. Try it on your own if you're feeling comfortable. We have a 5 and 8, so length of 5, width of 8. When you're talking about a rectangle, it doesn't really matter which one you designate the length and the width. It all works out the same. So 8 plus 5 plus 5. So that'd be 16 plus 10, which is 26. And our label again is centimeters. Notice how I work downward. Find the perimeter of a rectangle whose length is 14.5 inches and the width is 12.5. So let's try a different formula. Let's use 2 times length plus width. So we add the length and width together, 14.5 plus 12.5, and then we're going to take that and multiply it by 2. Now for this unit, we can use a calculator. So 14.5 plus 12.5 is 27. So then 2 times 27 is 54. And in this case, since we're talking inches, our label would be inches. Adding all the sides together. All right, some word problems here to go through. Elena is designing a rectangle garden. He wants the width to be 8 feet. He also wants to put fence around the garden. If he has 40 feet of fencing, what is the greatest length the garden can be? So he's got a rectangle garden, and we know that the width is going to be 8, so each side has to be 8. We are trying to figure out what length he can have in order for him to use the 40 total feet. So our perimeter is going to be equal to 40. So now we're working backwards. So width plus width. Let's try that again. Width plus width. And then you're going to add each of the lengths on there. Now 8 plus 8 is 16 plus 2 lengths equals 40. Now, using our knowledge from last unit, I'm going to copy this again over here. For solving two-step equations, subtract 16 from both sides. 40 minus 16 is 24. So we would have 2 length equals 24. Divide both sides by 2. So the length could be 12, in this case, feet. So if he had 40 feet of fencing and he needed the width to be 8, his lengths could each be 12 feet. Okay, so we're working backwards. Next one. Angela bought a frame for a photo of her friends. The width of the frame is 8 inches. If the distance around the frame is 36 inches, what is the length of the frame? So again, we're working backwards. The perimeter is going to, in this case, equal 36. And we have the width plus length plus length. So then 16 plus 2L, because there's L and L, that added together makes 2 of them, equals 36. Subtract 16 from both sides. 2 length equals 20. Divide both sides by 2. The length equals 10, and in this case inches. So that means the length would be 10 inches. Now we are talking about area. Anytime we are talking about area, this is the space inside. Whoops, that's not how you spell it. Inside a 2D shape. So perimeter was looking at the outside, area is looking at the inside. And we find that by finding the product of the length and the width. So here's the formula that you should copy down. Area equals length times width. The area of a rectangle is 53.94 square feet. If the width is 8.7 feet, find the length. So again, we're working backwards. So area equals length times width. We should always write down our formula first. Then we just plug in the information from there. So the area, 53.94. The length is what we're looking for, and we're going to multiply that by the width, which is 8.7. Now to solve this, we know that we undo multiplication by division, so we're going to divide both sides by 8.7. Go to our calculator here, 53.94 divided by 8.7. The length would be 6.2 feet. Anytime we're talking about the area, the label is always squared. So it could be written square feet. You could write it as feet with a little square up above. You could also abbreviate it to SQ feet. If we had inches, it would be inches squared, centimeters squared, whatever it might be. Since we're multiplying feet times feet, it ends up as a squared. So we were looking at finding the missing side length when we are given information here. So on this case, this first problem, what is the width of a rectangle that has an area of 135 square meters and a length of 9 meters? So area equals length times width. Now we plug in what we have. So area would be 135. Length, the length is 9, and the width is what we are looking for. So now we're going to divide both sides by 9. 135 divided by 9, use your calculator. W would equal 15. So the width would be 15 meters. Just working backwards, solving one-step equations. Steve built a square dog pen that has a perimeter of 240 inches. What is the length of one side of Steve's dog pen? Okay, because we are talking about a square, what do we know about a square? Well, we know all of the sides are the same, so we could pick all of the same variable. We know that every single side, whatever the value is, they are all going to be equal. So that means if we were to find the perimeter, we would take x plus x plus x plus x, and that all equals 240. Now, we have 4 x's, so 4x, okay, we could also multiply, equals 240. Divide both sides by 4. 240 divided by 4 equals 60. So that means each side would be 60 inches. Working backwards. Okay, that's finding area and perimeter of a rectangle. If you have questions, go back and rewatch again. Otherwise, practice on IXL and come to class with questions tomorrow.